I wanna play every single game. These bright lights are making my heart race. Mind's been gone, lost out in deep space. Imagine that you're there, you find your way. Imagine that you're there, top of your trade. Can't hear the doubt today. I can't hear all of your hate. Ha! Paint that picture, dance if you want to. Sing in the shower, you have the power. I move fluid, I stay grooving. Feels even better when you have to prove it. With my women, I get choosy. Getting to the point, I pick and choose it. Each new drop, I improve it. That reminds me, y'all should go cue it. Thinking that life is an arcade. I wanna play every single game. These bright lights are making my heart race. Mind's been gone, lost out in deep space. Imagine that your fears were never there. Step into the room, forget you're scared. Can't hear the doubt.
Yo, welcome back. Authentic Vibes Only podcast number 21. We're getting up there. We've been off a few weeks. We apologize, guys. But as you know, we've got a lot in store for you. Got a couple clothing drops coming up. And we had a big guest. He's here right now. That was our next big guest we were waiting to have on. So we'll get right into it with Jordan. As always, my co-host, and the guest is Devory. He's a mindset coach. If you guys don't know him, you probably already do because he's got amazing stuff out there on TikTok, on Instagram. But if you don't, go check him out. And I know you're going to love hearing to him talk tonight on the podcast, but go check him out on all socials, especially TikTok, Instagram. I'll share those links with you guys at the YouTube. They'll be connected, and also they'll be in the Spotify. So check out Devory, and we'll just get into it right away with asking Devory, how'd you get started here, Devory, with becoming and wanting to be a mindset coach? How all did that come about for you?
Absolutely. I first want to say thank you guys for having me here. It's always an honor, and I'm very grateful to always be able to meet new people and be able to share my stories. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you having coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess where did I start? I started somewhere in the middle of when I was I had a restaurant here in my local town. It was actually a juice bar, and in the middle of it, I knew I wasn't going to keep doing it long term. So I was already trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I remember that at that time, I kept having a lot of conversations with people, just helping them on the side, coaching them and mentoring them and stuff like that. So of course I was like, obviously this is probably what I should be doing, because it doesn't take any energy for me to help somebody. I just literally end up attracting these people. So anyways, one day, it's so funny. I'm sitting there. It was in my office, actually. I was sitting there, and I know this is crazy, but I was sitting there just like this, right? I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm like, what am I doing? And I was playing YouTube, which is what everybody does, right? You have something going on YouTube.
Right.
And who do I hear? I hear Bob Proctor. And for whatever reason, I heard his voice. I heard what he was talking about. And ever since that day, I never stopped listening. And part of that process was I ended up just becoming a consultant of his, which is how I ended up becoming a mindset coach. So, yeah.
That's awesome. It's crazy. So like when you're doing your juice bar, like you just said you were attracting these people, like it's just random people, like customers or whatever, just maybe like come up to you and just be like, yo, like maybe they just started talking to you about their day, and you just felt obligated to kind of just spit your knowledge with no prior like experience or coaching or schooling or anything on like mindset at all, right?
Yeah, it's interesting now that I look back at it. I'm not really doing anything differently today than back then. Really, it just takes someone who's great at listening, who can empathize and understand exactly what the person wants. And yeah, it would be with customers. I always had a habit when a customer would come in the store, I would always, hey, how are you doing? Tell me what's going on with you. Well, why is that? Really? Okay, tell me more about that. And so things like that would happen naturally. And that's how I kind of knew, okay, I probably should be doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just a pretty empathic person in general. That's cool. I feel like I can really
Yeah.
relate to that because my parents own a restaurant here in town. So I've always kind of like when people ask about like being in the business, I said, I don't know. One of the things I feel like I learn is like being in that business, you learn a lot of people's business, but not intentionally. But like I felt the same way. Like I'm not like just there to like, gossip or nothing. Like I feel like I should spread my knowledge or whatever I have advice for you to say, no matter who you are, just random people. So that's pretty cool too.
Yep.
I never thought about it that way either. That like, now I'm thinking about it like full circle type stuff. You're saying that, but I'm thinking like, yeah, I've been doing kind of the, similar things at my parents' restaurant, but I never thought like now I'm doing it as a podcast as well and trying to just make it for the betterment of people and society.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it's about. And everything that we're doing here, this podcast, right? What I do, anybody else out there who's listening, the whole point is to help another person get what they want in their life. We just all have our own way of doing it, but that's what it's really about. That's why we come into contact with people to help them get to where they want to go. And by doing that, we end up getting to where we want to go. So, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you just said that. It reminds me of the old saying, I think in the medicine profession, where they go, each one teach one, where as you are on your journey, as you progress in life, you still want to be able to help others around you and always have that hand outward. So where you can always bring people up with you or even say, hey, I might have made that mistake and I see you're going down maybe a similar trajectory. Let me try and help you not make the same thing that I made and get you farther ahead than where I'm at currently.
That's what it's about, man. I mean, everybody, if you think about it, it's nothing new here. Everybody needs a mentor, a coach, somebody that they're working with to help them take those next steps forward. Everybody needs it because it's like we're always going to the next level of our own ignorance, meaning we don't know what we don't know. And in order to figure that out, we got to surround ourselves with people who do know. And then once we do know something, then we figure out, oh man, I don't know nothing. It just is always happening that way. But the great part about it is when you look back, you see how much you've grown as an individual. And that's where you really start to enjoy your life, when you've been making progress, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So would you say like, I had a saying when we did an episode on purpose, because that was one of the things we wanted to talk about was finding your purpose or like any tips you have on purpose. But I feel like progress is purpose. Like it goes kind of hand in hand. Like like you said, once you start, you find your purpose or you figure out your purpose and you're just progressing, it just makes it easier. So I just feel like they're just one and the same to me. They're very similar. Like start progressing, find your purpose, and then you just feel, like you said, you just feel it's so different. Like it's just different. You feel different. You feel good. Everything in life seems to start falling into place in so many different aspects of life too. It's not, and it's usually not what you're expecting. I think that's what's even better is, even though you're like taking strides and thinking like things could go this way, like other things fall into place in unexpected ways that are even like could be even better. So
right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I love telling people when it comes to your purpose in life is it's really three things that I base it on. One, it's what you're already great at. Two, it's what you love to do. So you put those two together, because sometimes you can love something, but there's no talent there. So you want to find something you would love to actually do every day that you are good in, or you can get really great at, generally speaking. And then three, what's the impact you want to make on people starting today? So like, for example, this podcast, you guys are making a positive impact on other people, right? And so that's legacy right there. And so what I always tell people is when you look at it from that point of view, things become really easy because now you're doing what you love to do. And here's the thing, guys. Why is purpose everything here? Because if you start doing something you love to do that means you're falling in love with that idea, which means you're being driven by emotion. And what does that mean for you? That means you're going to start acting differently. It's like when you fall in love with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you act differently. Why? Because the emotions is what's driving your actions. So if you are emotionally involved in your life, like you've fallen in love with your life, which means you're doing the thing that you love to do, your behavior is just going to be different than the next person who doesn't know what their purpose is, doesn't know why they're waking up in the morning. That person's going to be filled with confusion and anxiety, and they're not going to be really happy. And so the progress happens because you're doing what you love to do. Like all of the results, sooner or later, they catch up. I think the biggest thing that people, I think, struggle with the most is accepting who they really are and what their purpose is in life. I find that through working with so many people, it can't be that simple is usually the response. It can't be that simple.
So, yeah. So do you think with purpose, do you think you're assigned in a purpose, or do you think you just kind of, like if you think in like spirituality wise or religious, if you think religiously, whatever you're into type, do you think you kind of come here with that purpose and you find it through doing new things or trying new things? Or do you think maybe like, is people that are just meant to only be 9 to 5 or only, I guess I can't say only, some people enjoy
Right.
that, but 9 to 5 workers or whatever there may be, everything that makes society run, like restaurants, nurses, all that type of stuff. I know nurses is very important, but anything to do with that. Do you think you're assigned that type of stuff, or do you think like everyone freely chooses that?
Yeah, definitely. The way I love answering this question is, okay, so let's take a big step back here. What's the purpose of the sun? It's what makes the solar system do what it's doing, right? And like, what's the purpose of our moon? It keeps our earth in check. Like, what's the purpose of the atmosphere? So we can breathe and not get burnt up by the sun. What's the purpose of food, air, and water? I say those things because this is probably one of the most, one of the biggest questions I always get is, well, how do I know I'm supposed to have a purpose and it means something? Like, well, everything in this world has a purpose. There's a reason why everything exists. There's a reason why we have ants and bees. Like, they're so crucial to our ecosystem, for example. And so are we assigned a purpose? Absolutely. And the thing about it is, why do so many people have a tough time realizing what their purpose is because they've been conditioned and they're caught up in a different world that really doesn't exist. Meaning they've been told from a young age, you need to do this, you need to think this way. Here's what you need to do when you get out of high school, and just do this. And so it's not normal for them to try to think outside of that unless they've been exposed to someone else saying things like that. So for example, if you grow up in the hood and all you ever know is gang activity and people robbing your house, then that's all you'll ever really think about. Unless you just so happen one day to be reading or hanging out with somebody or watching on the TV somewhere along the line, you're going to see something that is not a part of that world. And what will happen to people is that will actually pique their interest and say, hey, well, wait, maybe I should start doing things like that, or maybe I should go in that direction. So usually your purpose is not something you go out there and get. The purpose is already inside you. The way that you realize it is by trying new things, but also finding ways to actually love your life. And by doing that, you start opening yourself up to more creative thinking. So to kind of put this nail in a coffin here is, if you start doing things that you love to do, that you enjoy, you have an interest in, you're going to be thinking from a creative place with your mindset, which means you're going to be relaxed. You're going to be more open to new ideas. people who are filled with anxiety and depression, they're closed-minded. They're not getting any ideas right now. Why? Because their energy is negative. And so negativity contracts, positivity expands. This is why our purpose is to grow, expand, help others, experience life. It just generally speaking. And the way that happens is through our own gifts that we've been given. So that's how I see it, is we're all given one. And it's literally our mission in life to find out what that is by getting out of our rooms and going and experiencing life in whatever way we possibly can. Yeah.
Jordan, I know I got something to say, but I'm just making sure if you got anything first.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I will say, just going back to what you said towards the beginning of that, of talking about how you need to have kind of that emotional drive to your purpose. Like, I agree with that 100%. I remember hearing a quote somewhere. It said, when your why is strong enough, the how gets so much easier. Because once you have that deep reason for why you're doing something, even if you have struggles come your way, even if, you know, obstacles, things of that nature, you have that deep drive and you're like, well, sure, they're here, but it's nothing compared to why I'm actually doing it. So going that into the purpose, like, I 100% agree with that. And I just thought it was something, you know, really, really cool that you said that, you know, I relate to. I know Braeden also relates to it as well. And then, you know, with moving forward to where you talked about how, you know, we're given that purpose and trying to find, kind of doing different things, different avenues in life to try and find that, but also making sure that you love doing it as well is another really good point that I don't think that many people hear all the time. It's more so like, you got to find your purpose, or you have to work the 9 to 5 or go do this X, Y, Z or whatever. But not a lot of people are hearing but you also have to love it. Because if you have a purpose in something, like you said earlier, you might be okay at it, but if you don't truly love it, in the long run, it won't be that sustainable.
That's it. I mean, you were saying about the 9 to 5, right? You guys are asking about that. Like, is it really somebody's purpose to work a 9 to 5? No, it isn't. But people settle. Now, am I saying you should never work a 9 to 5? No, because it's part of the process. You got to get a job. You got to pay bills. So eventually you got to work yourself up to a position where maybe you don't have to do a 9 to 5. Maybe you actually find a career that you love, or maybe you find a business that you love that you think will solve a big problem, and you start that. But I used to tell my employees who worked at the juice bar, I say, hey, listen, you're not going to work here for the rest of your life. You need to start thinking about what you really want to do. Like, I was like the guy that was, I was hiring them and then I was trying to get rid of them at the same time. but honestly, because I cared about their success and them actually living a life, right? And so most people are not actually living because they're caught up in that rat race of just working over and over and over again. And they've never even sat down and asked the question, well, wait, what is it that I really want? You know, they don't really ask that question. So, yeah.
I agree. I really, you said so much good stuff. Jordan's so right. There's so much to unpack. I love how you brought it into like always being told what to do and not being more open thinking and enjoying and doing what you want to do. Cause that's what we talk about the most on the brand and Authentic Vibes Only. That's what that is being comfortable and confident in yourself and doing what you want to do and enjoying it and not worrying what others had to say about you or any of that. As long as you're being a good human being, that's all that matters, is doing what you want to do and enjoying what you do. Also with the purpose, I think I said one other thing on the purpose when we talked about is along the lines of the same thing. Is like inside, that's why I asked about being assigned, is because like inside you always will know, like you just know, like once you find it, it's like, even I said it to Jordan, even if you're not great at it at first, like it's just something inside you tells you this is it. Like, this is what I love. This is what I need to be doing. And then, practice makes perfect. You keep doing it and you just fall in love more, especially by getting better, seeing that progress, like you said, and just going along that journey and just diving deep into it, falling in love with what you're doing.
Yeah, let me say this really quick, because I think this is everything you need to know about, like, okay, so Devory, like, how do you live your purpose? Like, okay, but I love multiple things, or I'm talented at multiple things. Yeah, you're talented at multiple things for a reason. Okay. So get this. Um, you got to find out what you love to do with your life. And you can't do that unless you obviously get up and go try new things, of course. You shouldn't be trying to find your purpose from a place of lack and scarcity. So you shouldn't be desperate with it. You should enjoy the journey there. And you'll know. And I think most people know from a young age, especially as a teenager. I just think with everything that happens when you're a teenager and everybody in your ear, it literally gets drowned out by most people, honestly, because I knew as a teenager, this is what I wanted to be doing, but I had nobody there that was like encouraging me to think that way. So I didn't have anybody to say, well, Devory, what do you really want to do? I didn't have nobody there like that. So because I didn't have that, I didn't really step into it. And so I just went to the military instead. But all I'm saying is this. Let's say you find out what you do love to do. Well, there's already talents that you have that you can use towards doing what you love to do. And you will over time have to develop skills and get better at doing what you love to do. So yeah, you're spot on about that. And I think that's the part that most people miss, is they think, well, I got to get better. I got to be the best tomorrow. And it's like, the best didn't get better tomorrow. It's a process. It takes years of mastery of doing it every single day, putting in the hours, putting in the work, to get the results that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's crazy too, because it's not only, like purpose, and it's like purpose, life, self-confidence, all that stuff comes, like the gym, all things that are good come with time. We just made a design that we posted on the brand's page that says growth comes with time, and it's just, that's what it is. Like growth in any aspect in life, it doesn't matter what it is going to come with time, and putting in the time, and also enjoying that time. Is, like, you can't expect great things to happen overnight. Flowers don't come overnight. Butterflies aren't overnight. All the amazing things in life aren't going to just come to you just because you think you deserve it, or you want it at that time. There's other things that you got to learn first and stuff like that. All, like you said, it's just all part of the journey, learning all this stuff and going through all the experiences, good, bad, the ugly, no matter what it is. It all is going to come, and then you're really going to be happy that you did have that time.
Yeah. What's really funny is, the thing about school, right? We go to elementary school, middle school, high school. They teach us about science. They teach us about the planets. They teach us about nature. But where they fail is they don't make the connection of us to those things. Meaning, for example, the universe is where it is today through time. It just didn't happen overnight. This has been happening for billions of years. Just like in nature, when you plant a tree, a vegetable or a fruit, a flower, a time must elapse for it to finally harvest. And that is the same concept with our minds. If there's something you want to do, you must understand that there's going to be a timeline that must elapse. You got to plant the seed. You got to keep watering it. You got to protect it like you would if you're planting tomatoes in the garden. But they don't say that in school. So we grow up and we don't see the connection when it's been there all along. How to live our lives, so to speak. It's all around us. The example of the way we should be living can be seen in everything that we're experiencing. If that makes any sense.
Oh, mate, it makes total sense. Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense, and it's it's crazy. I've never heard it explained like that, but it makes total sense. But it's just crazy, like you said, that it has been there this whole time, and I've never heard it like that. I've never seen it like that. I've never been taught it like that. But now even more things to me are making more sense just by hearing it in that sort of way right now. When you also, one last thing on purpose, do you think before finding your purpose, we'll kind of move on to the next subject a little bit. Do you think that you have to find your self-confidence and be confident in yourself before finding your purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is no. The reason why is because the confidence is only going to come from taking action. It's the only way to do it. And you're not going to take action if you're not living on purpose. Now, some people, they can take action. You know, they can get themselves up, they can get themselves to take action, but it's not sustainable. Sooner or later, they'll hit a wall. So, like, the real major key is to make sure that before you do anything, that you're coming at everything from a place of what you want, what you love to do, what you're driven by. And because that emotion will drive you to take action, even if you feel you're not ready. And through the repetition of the action, the confidence is going to start to build. And especially if you have a mentor in your life, even if you make a mistake, you'll have somebody there to let you know that you're doing the right thing. Most people miss that. They don't have a mentor. So what do? They beat themselves up. They kill the confidence. They kill the progress, and they go back to square zero again. When if they had just kept doing what they were doing, they would be on the path to success. So no, I don't think you need confidence to start living your purpose. You need to make a decision first. Like, that's what's really required. Like, I'm going to live my purpose regardless. And the only way I will not live my purpose is because somebody either killed me, being extreme here, or it was my time. I left the earth. But other than that, no, you should not allow anybody to stop you from living your purpose. And just that mindset alone, your confidence is going to go up.
Yeah, not even letting anyone then it's you versus you. You can't even let yourself stop you.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
When you speak on mentors, I mean, I've had a few. I feel like me and Jordan talked a little bit on like finding mentors, but we don't really, I want to hear your tips, I guess, on like, how would you go about like getting mentors or like getting a person like that in your life if you don't have one or you never had one or anything like that? I mean, I've had a few, but we've been reaching out to not find mentors, but then we get in touch with people and it ends up kind of being like a mentor situation, or just helping us out in general. Like, it doesn't have to be full-time mentor, just like anybody I feel like that helps me out or puts me on the right direction, to me is just a mentor to me, like an elder, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it's a mentor. It doesn't have to be an all the time thing or anything like that. They just reach out when they can, or I reach out when I can, and they got positive things for me. But I don't really have, I don't think, great tips really for when it comes to what you got to do to find these people besides just reach out, get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of the simplest things. I think it's really misunderstood by most people because when you say get a coach, get a mentor, you know what people first think? Oh, well, how much is it going to cost? They're done already. That's why they don't ever find one. They're thinking like someone who wouldn't get a mentor. You see, like, that's how simple it ends up being and why people don't find one. So I wanted to address the mistake that people are making is don't think about, well, how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? What do I got to do? That's not someone who's thinking successfully. So what you should do is consider these three things. One, you can find a mentor, which is nice, in a book, right? In a book, okay. For example, this is Wallace D. Wattles' Science of Getting Rich. There's so many people who are no longer here on the earth, but they've given us all the keys in the books that they've written. That's a mentor. You can also find a mentor, obviously through friends or family. Maybe there's somebody in your family that you really respect. And the way to make sure they are a good mentor is to look at their results, because the results always will tell the story. Like, you should not get a mentor who is not paying their rent and they're about to get put out on the corner, right? You want to make sure it's somebody who has the results that you want. And again, this speaks to another mistake is people go to their friends and family for advice. And that's the worst thing you could ever do. Your friends and family, one, don't have your vision, and two, most of the time are not qualified to give you advice anyway, because they're not living that life. So you want to seek who is living that life. And I mean, again, it's very simple. We have multiple people in this world that can help us get there. One particular person that I love is called google.com. I mean, the stuff that you can find on there, is so amazing, right? But no, seriously, like you can find people on YouTube, of course, like in this internet age, they're all online, of course. And so like, for example, if you're trying to be, I remember I had somebody that was into, it's called bushcraft or butchcraft. It's the dudes that go out into the wilderness and set up their camping stuff, and they survive out there for extended period of time, and they share off all the tools that they use. Well, I had someone that I was coaching. I was like, have you ever reached out to one of those guys, one of these dudes that are actually doing it? And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, that's one of them. It could be a mentor for you. Like, go ask that guy exactly what you should be doing. So to sum it all up, the best way to find a mentor is to get clear on what you want. It's hard to find a mentor if you don't even know what you want. So if you get clear on what you want to do, so if you want to get into real estate, you want to start a podcast, you want to be a coach, find someone who's doing that already, and then have a conversation with them. And you'll get a feeling, and you'll know with your intuition whether or not this person is the right fit for you.
Amazing. Jordan, you look intrigued. Any comments, Jordan?
No, I just loved everything you had to say there. Like that's it. I mean, for myself and any mentors that were gracious enough to come into my life, it was more so just, I knew what I was looking for. And I kind of just put it out there like, hey, I'm like looking for this thing, and just asked around, and it ended up being people that I didn't previously think would be my mentor, ended up, playing a big role in all areas of my life, whether that's business, spirituality, fitness, all these different things. And so, no, the only thing that I have a question for you on is, or not, maybe not even a question, but kind of just a thought is, do you think that it should be kind of people like that are 100% in that realm? Or do you think that at times, just by having those conversations with people that that's not closely related to you, they can sometimes turn into a mentor as well?
Yeah, I believe that there's no right or wrong way to do it. But I find the most success is just going to the person who has exactly what you want and just ask them a very simple question. Well, what is the one thing I should be doing to get what you have? Just give me one thing I should be doing for the next 90 days. Like if people just did that and then they executed on what that person told them to do for the next 90 days, their life would change for sure. Absolutely. I mean, listen, let me tell you how real this is. Okay. I'm on this podcast because you guys, I think, saw me on TikTok or something like that. Well, how did that happen? Because I went to a mentor and I asked him the exact same question. I said, what's the one thing I should be doing every single day to blow up on TikTok? And he's like, all right, do this. Here are the steps. Just do this. He's like, if you just do that for 90 days, you will get the results. And what did I do? I did exactly what he told me to do. And I did not skip a day. I did exactly what he told me to do. And I'm telling you guys, I know this sounds simple. I know people who are listening like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I know. But ask yourself, when's the last time you did exactly what you were told to do from a mentor? Like verbatim, like step by step. We have the tendency of kind of like, okay, they told me to do this, but I'm kind of going to go do my own thing now, right? And most people have a tendency to do that. So you want to make sure that you find someone who's got exactly what you want and you do exactly what they tell you to do. It's really being very intentional and focus is if I was going to sum it all up.
I'm gonna write that down real quick, my bad.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yeah, it's very powerful to be very intentional about who you spend your time with, for sure.
I think you're on a deeper level, but we definitely touch on, I love that we got you on here because you're touching on like so much stuff we talked about, but in different aspects. So it's amazing because we talk about like, we did talk about who you are, like who you surround yourself with type stuff. So like relationships are really like an important factor in your life, and cutting people out that you may have to cut out, even though maybe they've been longtime friends. Sometimes that stuff's got to happen, whether it's family, friend, whatever type of relationship it was. Sometimes those hard things got to happen. You got to make the hard choices because you don't want to be that person anymore, because you're settling, like you said. You're kind of just settling in those relationships and becoming exactly what they are by being around it all the time.
Exactly.
I saw something recently on Instagram or TikTok, I can't remember, I think it's Instagram, on like how to motivate yourself. So I just have a couple of questions, basically like what would you say are like the best steps to motivate yourself, or like the best habits for success?
Okay. Well, definitely, in order to motivate yourself, it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning.
Purpose.
Yeah, is you got to have a purpose. It's the first step in Think and Grow Rich, which is desire. Your desire for something is based on a purpose. You have to have a reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is, as long as you have one and that reason is very strong, right? That this is why they say when the why is strong enough, the facts really, they don't count. So, if you want to motivate yourself, you have to fall in love with your life. Like people who are in love with their life and they have a purpose, they don't have a motivation problem. Motivation problems and issues are coming from people who are not doing what they want to do. That's why they're not motivated.
Okay.
It's just hard. How are you going to be motivated doing something you hate? It just doesn't add up.
You're not, because then, like you said, you're kind of right. You're just stuck in such a negative spot. Like you're always every day, like, cause I've been there, just like,
Yeah.
Damn, I really just hate what I'm doing right now. Like what else? Like there's so much better things I could be doing, but I'm still just stuck here and I hate it here. Like I literally hate it here. Like hate's a strong word, but I very much dislike what I'm doing right now. And that's, I feel like hopefully at some point I hit a point, but hopefully most people hit that point where they do hit that and they reevaluate, why am I still here? If I hate it, why am I doing this? Why would I want to do this the rest of my life? Because it's not even enjoyable. I'm not even living life. I'm literally just here, like it feels like you're literally just here going through the motions and yeah, just sitting in life and kind of wasting it away. You only get one, depending on what you believe in. Me and Jordan have talked about many things we believe in on that, but we'll just say you only get one technically. So one life on earth. So yeah, I don't know. That's rocking a hard place. Is that saying? I don't know. You gotta get out of there, hit that hard spot and just get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest questions I used to ask my accountability partner, he's a coach too. We used to sit there and ponder about what would it take for someone to finally make a decision to change their life? Like, how does that actually happen? Because every day you hear somebody who has turned things around, right? And they're living a better life. But what was like the breaking point? And I find that it usually happens with one or two things. One, the person ends up hitting rock bottom so hard that their ego becomes crushed and they now become very open-minded to doing whatever it takes. When previously they were never open-minded to doing whatever it takes to live the life that they want. Now, I usually don't wish that upon anybody, but sometimes it's very necessary to hit the rock bottom. And this is why usually every successful person you may have come across and you read their story, they had a rock bottom moment. Like that's not by random. I mean, that happens on purpose. And then the second thing is when someone becomes very dissatisfied. So they may not have hit rock bottom, but they're just really dissatisfied with the results that they're getting. Like you were saying, they no longer like the job that they're working at. They're not getting treated with any respect. Sooner or later, they're going to throw up their hands and say, hey, you know what? I'm done. And so usually I think those are kind of like the tipping points for people as it pertains to finally making a decision to do something about their circumstances. And they really become motivated after that, for sure.
Agreed. I feel like you said, it's not necessary, but people maybe job or whatever, like you said too, like when you find your purpose and what you love doing and all that stuff falls into place. It's the same thing with just being in rock bottom, or even in hitting those like downfalls. Maybe it's not rock bottom, like you said, just dissatisfied, but being in that negative mindset and that negative frequency, like everything around you seems to become just negative, whether it's job, relationship, life in general. Like you're having a bunch of car problems at the same time as all this other, everything just seems negative no matter what it is. Could be the smallest inconvenience ever, but it's just a big inconvenience because of where you're at and where your mindset is. Yeah, just how you are mentally is just in a negative aspect, and the frequencies are all coming in negatively, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, where I am today, I would respond differently to that, I think, a few years ago. But today, I tell people that even when it seems like everything is going against you, everything is still happening for you. So like if you're still able to wake up in the morning and you have a car, even if it broke down, you still got to wake up today. Like there's still opportunities here. Like the game is not over, and so usually what's happening with people is they're in the first quarter of the game and they're thinking it's over already because this happened. It's like, well, wait, man, life's a marathon. It's how you finish your day. Every day really matters. And so, even when it seems like things are not going for you, like everything's going against you, you have to understand this really quick. So there's an opposite to everything. You guys are aware: left, right, up, down, in, out. So if we know that to be true, which was taught in science, by the way, then it would be reasonable to conclude that if something bad's happening in my life, there must be something good somewhere else, right? Because you can't have something bad happen if there wasn't anything good happening. Like they both happen at the same time. It just is all predicated on your perception of what's happening. That really matters and what ends up being what you experience.
It's kind of like how
I love that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love where you just went there with that of saying it happens for you. Everything happens for you, whether it's good or the bad. Because at least the way I like to look at things is, sure, things might not go my way, or say some obstacle comes, things of that nature. But if that does come, I can learn from it in all areas of life. And then by having that kind of positive mindset in things, it ends up not really being as detrimental. It's like, well, sure, this happened, but I was able to learn X lesson, and then also be aware that, oh, hey, over here, I'm still grateful for all these different things that are in my life every day. As simple as just waking up in the morning or having a cup of coffee. Just being able to show the gratitude every day diminishes whatever negative consequences or negative, things come your way in life, big or small.
Yeah. And there's going to be people watching, well, you guys don't get it. I have to pay my rent tomorrow, or this happened. It's like, listen, you don't get it. If you can't be grateful that you woke up today, you're not going to be grateful if your car gets fixed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what it is. It's the principle behind it. The feeling, naturally feeling grateful for your life is everything. If you're waiting for something to happen and then you will be grateful, but you'll be waiting until the end of your life because it'll just always be temporary. Yeah.
Put me in a lot of places right now. I love it. I love what you're speaking. It's just I love thinking critically thinking and talking to so many different people with different viewpoints. Cause you get so much out of it. I don't know. We talk about the same stuff, like I said, but it's still like a different viewpoint, and it's just making me, the wheels are spinning in the head. I love it. Even for like the way I take it into myself, like this, not even just for the people, guys, like everyone watching, listening. I was grateful to have Devory on here just to listen to him myself as well, just from watching his videos. Like that's why I've been taking notes on these pages for stuff, like this is like amazing stuff. I love too, like you said, like we said something, it's kind of like when you wake up and instead of saying like, I have to do this today, like I get to do this, you know, like be
Yep.
like that grateful type mindset instead of, oh, I have to go to the gym or I have to do this. Like, no, I get to go do that because I woke up today. So I get to go do this. I get to go do this. Like whatever that may be, like Jordan said too, like it could be the smallest thing. Oh, I woke up today. I get to go get coffee, you know, like I get to go for a walk, like just enjoy nature and what earth gives to us and stuff like that. I get to see my mom, you know, some people don't have that, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it and yeah, just flipping that mindset, just that small, I feel like that small thing can make a big difference for people too. Just like changing from I have to I get to type stuff. It's crazy how little things like that, and then it all adds up to like to bigger things.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think let's finish. We got our quote of the day segment. We always had that, but I got one last question. What do you think like are some of the biggest mindset mistakes that people make when maybe they're trying to switch over, or even if maybe they don't know where to start either? Like what are some of the biggest mistakes people can make when trying to get to where they want to be mentally and finding
Mhm.
that confidence, finding that purpose, all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is one, they say it's hard. I mean, this is something I'm really working on right now. I want to change the paradigm in the world around that statement. Well, it's hard to change my life. Really? Are you telling me that's harder than living a life with regret? Living a life that you hate? Living a life where you end up teaching your kids to do the same thing you just did? I mean, what could be harder than that? So I think the big mistake people make before they even get started is they're already going into the game like, oh, this is too hard. It's like which leads to mistake number two is people don't understand how powerful they really are. Like, and the proof is all around us. You know, you guys are obviously on TikTok, right? I mean, have you ever been scrolling on TikTok and you've seen someone with like half their face missing and they're doing DJ stuff? You guys ever seen that yet?
I haven't
Have
seen
you ever seen somebody disabled on TikTok doing their passion?
I've seen some
Have
like
you guys seen that
disabled
at least?
weightlifters and stuff like that. I've seen that.
Or like arm missing, leg is
Yeah,
missing, or
lately
something like that?
the
I
guy
know.
lately that's been big is the guy that's been playing basketball with one arm that just received that Division 1 offer.
Right. So every time I see that, I just smile because it's another example of how powerful we really are. And so mistake number two is people seem to like sell themselves really short in this process of change. So they're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Then you don't get it. Like you're the most powerful thing really in the universe. You can do anything, you know? And so mistake number one is people are saying it's too hard. Mistake number two is they are selling themselves short. And then mistake number three, and I think this is really huge in regards to mindset, is they're not feeding their mind the right information. So for example, people on social media, they go down the wrong road when everything that they consume has nothing to really do with what they love. They keep watching things that adds no value to their life. So when I come across someone who's dancing, I scroll right past it. You're not doing anything for my life. Great for you. I'm sure someone else will enjoy it. But for me, that doesn't do anything for me. Now, if I come across something on social media where I'm like, oh, I'm about to learn something. Okay. Yeah, I want to listen. And even if it wasn't on social media, are you reading a book about the life you want to live? Are you following people who are living that life? You know, and so most people are not feeding their minds the right information it needs to thrive. They keep feeding their mind negative information. And that happens via the environment that they're living in, the way that they consume content on social media, and everything else that they're doing in their lives. And so I would say those are the big three mistakes.
You heard it here first, guys. When it comes to making mistakes, you gotta watch your relationships, your environment, content. That was a big thing for me when I hit like one of my biggest growth journeys was, I'm gonna agree with that, because I unfollowed a lot of people, even people I may have been friends with at one point, but just random people. And I started following, especially like mindset stuff, health stuff, meditation, visualization, stuff for graphic design, because you guys know I freelance design, stuff like that, you know? So I'm gonna definitely agree with like all that stuff helped me take like really big strides. And then reading, I pick it up here and there. I really just got on it. Jordan helps me stay kind of more consistent with that. But you said something about Think and Grow Rich. That's the book I'm on right now, and about halfway through. But that amazing book. I mean, I've got, ever since Jordan and I have talked about it, I've probably got a list of like 30 books, and they're all sitting on my bookshelf waiting to be read. So, you know, everything Devory said on that stuff, I'm going to agree with. I'm not, it helps me. So like, I'm not saying it's, you know, like what else am I supposed to say? It's helping me. Devory's saying it. I'm sure Jordan will preach the same thing. That stuff helps like tremendously. So don't make those mistakes of not doing those types of things.
Yeah, can I just piggyback on the book that you're reading, Think and Grow Rich? You see, here's this is a big mistake, and that's why I want to bring it up. What people are doing right now, majority of people in the world, is they're downloading the apps to either listen or skim read these books, or they buy the book in person and they just read it once. Let me tell you right now, that ain't going to cut it. That is not going to work. You've got to get what you're reading inside your subconscious mind. How do you do that? You got to read the same thing over and over and over again until you start to understand it. So this is why sometimes you guys may have some friends or some acquaintances or people you conversate with sometimes, and you're giving them what they need. And what do they say? Oh, I understand that. But then you talk to them next month and they're still doing the same thing. They don't understand, because if they understood, they wouldn't do that. So how do you get yourself to a level of understanding? It's by picking up the book, finding somewhere in that book that really stands out to you. It might be a paragraph, it might be a sentence, it might be a page, and just keep rereading it until you see the shift in your behavior. Because every time you go to read it, you see something new, you think about something differently, which means you keep accepting it. And then you're going to start really understanding what the author has been saying the entire time. So again, if you're just picking up books and you're just kind of skim reading it, you're doing it wrong. Absolutely. For sure.
Amazing. I definitely, another thing I agree with there, because this is the first time I'm reading through it, but sometimes I do get like that where I feel like I'm not taking in all the content, or like what I am reading, like I get fixated, like you said, then my mind is in like a bunch of different places. So what I've been doing, you know, a lot of people should do this anytime they read, underline, or I'm screenshotting like the parts where I really like. I just take a picture of it and I save it in my photos and I look over it. Yeah, like you said, I tend to see it usually every day, whatever the case may be. But
So
it's kind
you
of like,
should you should get yourself a book holder,
okay, yeah, I like that.
and it holds the page open. So no matter what, if it's on your desk, you're going to keep seeing it again. I found, guys, this is pretty crazy. I found that even if you don't stare at the book per se, your mind is still seeing that paragraph every day. Consciously, you're not aware, because that's not the way your conscious mind works. Subconsciously, it could take everything in if it wants to. So it's seeing what's right in front of you, even if you don't actually read it. I mean, just by having it open and underline and highlight it, your mind is going to see that. It's the repetition of that, and it just becomes like this permanent thing in your mind.
Wow. I know I read on the subconscious mind, and Jordan talk on it. That's crazy, because now like I have my goal. I told Jordan I have my goals for like 2022 above my desk here. And I told him I try to tend to look at them every day, but I don't. But now you're saying like, even if I don't, you know, like I am at some point, like I just glance at it and my mind sees it. So subconsciously it's still there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes me very happy that I decided to hang those up on my wall in here. Honestly, it's like cool too that you're talking about like with books. It's the same thing with like why people say like with affirmations to repeat them multiple times and write them down multiple times when you're writing them down, because it gets into your subconscious mind. And that's why they're saying multiple times, not just do it multiple times just to do it, it's because it's got to get to the subconscious mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key ingredient here that everybody should know who's listening is that affirmations and reading the book and all this other stuff, it's only going to work if you get emotional about it. Like, it doesn't work if there's no emotional attachment, because emotions is what allows you to access your subconscious mind. That's the emotional part of your mind. It's emotions that controls your behavior. So if emotions is what controls our behavior, then it would make sense that if we wanted something to get into our subconscious mind, we need to become emotional about it, which is why most of the show we were talking about your purpose in life, which is based on what you love to do. So anyways, if you're looking at your goal, one thing I always tell people, and I've learned this myself, is sometimes looking at the goal isn't enough. Like, sometimes you need to think about, what is the goal going to give me? Who am I going to become because of this goal? Like, and go a step further, because if you go a step further and you start really picturing what's going to happen once you get to the goal. For example, if your goal is, let's say, $1 million, right? Let's say $1 million in a year. Most people, like, I'd probably say at least 99% of people can't picture $1 million, and they don't even know what it feels like to have $1 million. Like, they couldn't just create that emotion like that. So what's the way to get there? What would happen after you got the $1 million? Would you go on a vacation with your family and you paid for it, and you guys are on the vacation, you guys are on the beach, and then people are coming up to you that you really respect, and they're like, hey, you know what? We really want to say thank you for doing this for us. We are so proud of you. Isn't the emotion of that much stronger than just thinking about $1 million? Like, it's just a different way of seeing it in a sense. I find that now, I know there are people out there that can get emotional about $1 million. Don't get me wrong, but I think the vast majority of people, that isn't the case. They need to find something that's going to happen after they've achieved the goal that will drive them emotionally, and think about that, and not necessarily the goal itself.
I think that's why a lot of people too, I think, comes with, like, when people are like, what does money make you happy? Like, not technically, but the things it can do for you, like, make you happy, like, emotionally. It allows you to be free, but it allows you to do stuff like that, like, take your family on vacation, just make everyone in your in your life that you love and care about, just make them feel amazing, or take care of them. Like, just, that's an emotional feeling for you too, because you just feel great about stuff like that. So I think that's an awesome way to think about it too. Like, if you can't visualize, like, it materialistically, just go way more based on the emotional. I guarantee you can visualize that emotionally. And something about, like, the subconscious mind doesn't understand, like, visualizing it and then actually it happening in person. So that's why, like, when you're meditating and visualization is such, like, a big deal, because it can't understand the difference.
No, it doesn't. That's why people who have nightmares, you wake up and it feels like it actually happened, or you watch that scary movie and you're walking out of the theater like all nervous, because the movie was in your subconscious mind. It's so emotional. So yeah, it's really powerful. Absolutely. And that's why I always tell people today, like, if there's anything you guys can take away from what I just said, like, I think this is the major key. Sometimes we hear the terms major key, like the cheat code. You want to know what the cheat code is here? The goal is not to get the $1 million, man. The goal is to feel like you already have it. That's the goal. It's the feeling. Because once the feeling becomes natural, you're going to be able to do whatever you want over and over and over again. So if it doesn't feel natural for you to achieve your goal, it ain't going to happen. So the goal really isn't the getting it. The goal is the becoming and experiencing the growth and actually feeling like it's already happened. And I think for people who are just starting out, I think they would be more successful if they made that the goal than the actual materialistic thing.
Well, no further comments on that one. He's got the cheat code. I'm gonna. I mean, I feel I feel a lot of emotions a lot, so I think that that's gonna play a big factor into how I go about a lot, like change my mindset that way, because I feel like I don't know, I wear my heart on my sleeve technically when it comes to a lot of things. So just like I'm an emotional guy. I'm okay to admit that. So I think that's gonna play a big factor in my life, just hearing that kind of stuff.
I love that.
Um,
I love it.
we'll finish up here with the quote of the day. So we found this. I haven't picked it up for a while because we haven't had a podcast in a couple weeks, but it's called 24 Hours a Day. I don't know if you've ever had it, read it. My dad found it like 2 months ago and gave it to me and said he thought it'd be good for the podcast, and I agree. But basically it's every day of the year. There's a story for every day in the space of a guy that is in AA because he's an alcoholic. Um, since we skip days, we don't read the top excerpt of the day, but he always leaves like a meditation for the day, and then he leaves prayer for the day, which we turn into affirmations for the day. So instead of saying I pray, we say I affirm that this. So we'll go for
Mm.
the meditation of the day, and then we just speak on like how it relates to us or how it makes us feel. So the meditation for the day says, "Hallowed by thy name." What does that mean to us? Here, name is used in the sense of spirit. The words mean praise to God for his spirit in the world, making us better. We should be especially grateful for God's spirit, which gives us the strength to overcome all that is base in our lives. His spirit is powerful. It can help us to live a conquering, abundant life. So we praise and thank him for his spirit in our lives and in the lives of others. And remember, guys, sorry to right after saying that, but remember, we're not like pushing religion. So if you think about it as higher frequency, higher power, whatever you guys think of that is, take it that way, because we don't want to like say it's God, because I always say like I don't know what I believe in. I believe in a higher power, but I call it God, but I don't know if it is God. So we just, however you guys interpret that, just take it that way. But I can read it again if you guys would like to hear it one more time, if you guys didn't catch it too.
Yeah, I was able to catch it.
Yeah, I'm good, Braeden.
Okay. So what do you guys got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Jordan.
Okay, yeah. So, Braeden knows I've talked about this before, but for me, every single day in my journal, actually over here, I journal every morning, every night, and in the morning, I always say, what are you grateful for, and kind of what do you like? What are your first thoughts of the day? And every single thing, I'm just grateful for God's plan for my life, and I'm grateful to have another day to be alive. And my whole mindset is just trusting in God's plan for my life, knowing that, yes, things might not always go my way, or there might be negative things that come my way, obstacles, whatever the case may be. But I always know, like, my interpretation of my mindset is it's always for the greater good to get to be the person who I was destined to be, and by maximizing myself in all areas of life. So that whole entire quote really resonates with me of what I already do and kind of how I try to live my life and go about living my life on a day-to-day basis.
I love that, man. That is really good right there. I think my takeaway for sure is that whether you believe in God or you don't, the bottom line is this: God is within you. When you use your imagination, you're looking at it from the eyes of God. So there is nothing that we can't do in this life. Like, there is no them against you or you against me. It's none of that. Like, there is no limit here. And it's God's plan for us to live a life that we get to experience, that's filled with abundance and things that are great, and happiness and joy and love. And you know what? I think when people start to realize that we're all the same, I'm not better than you, you're not better than me, we're all here for a purpose, and that purpose is to grow. And when we just start accepting that and just allow God to guide us, I mean, just unstoppable at that point. We will start living a life that we love. So that's my takeaway.
Amazing. I think we touched a little bit on that last week, and just like for the betterment of society and people, it's just, like we just all got to be better people in living with a purpose, and caring more and stuff like that. If that's not the case, then it's never going to be for the betterment of the people or the betterment of the world or society. It's not going to get better. It's just going to continue to break, unfortunately. I'd say my takeaway is this. Like I said, I don't know what it is. I'd love to say, God, whatever. I know it's a higher power. I believe in that. I believe in the universe, spirituality, all that stuff. So, and I do believe that it's within me. We talked about before too, how I believe that with God, we were the co-authors of our own life. So there comes those things that are within inside of us. We know it's inside of us. And like Devory said, in when you're thinking and when you visualize stuff, that's from God. Like technically, like I feel that because where else could it come from? Like, how does all of a sudden it pop into your mind, like the person who created the internet or cell phones? Like, where does that come from? It just all of a sudden just someone thinks of it, like, but where does it come from? How does someone think of that when it's never been a thing in the universe? So there's something within inside of us that's higher than us that allows us to think like that and pursue life and pursue our purpose, and that's what it's about. And we'll finish up here with your prayers for the day or affirmations for the day. So if you guys don't have any, like we said, this is kind of, we give you these so you can start using affirmations, whether you do or don't. If you do already, then you can add them to your list. But first one is, I affirm that I may be grateful for God's spirit in me. And then the second one is, I affirm that I may try to live in accordance with it. And with it would be just God and his spirit and the higher power that may be. So that's it for today's podcast, guys. So thank you, Devory, for coming on. That was honestly maybe more even more like informational and like a teaching moment for me than maybe even the viewers. Who knows? I'm just very grateful that I got to have you on here. I know Jordan, I let him speak for himself, but I know he feels the same way. It's crazy. I actually messaged him that once he messaged you, like it really changed my way of thinking towards the brand. Cause like we always talked about having guests on, but like we never really have reached out to someone that big of like how big you are. So it changed my way of thinking, and you like answered and stuff like that. And I told him that with that going on and our drop and everything coming up with the close, like I was almost in tears. Like I told you, I get emotional, but like that stuff, like it just had me feeling some type of way. And I feeling that way right now. Like I'm feeling very emotional and just super happy and grateful for this moment to happen.
Yeah. I'll go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
No, because everything that Braeden said, when he shot me over one of your TikTok clips, I took a look and I was like, yep. I was like, I'm messaging him. If he doesn't reply, it's all right. But I just have to message him, just, tell you about the story you were telling, how it resonates with both of us and kind of what we're about, and really wanting you to share your story and all the things that you're very well versed about with the mindset coaching and your outlook on life as well for all of our viewers.
Yeah. Well, again, like I started, I'm really grateful to definitely have had this opportunity to be on here with you guys. And I gotta say, you guys are just getting started. There's a lot of potential here, and I hope people who are listening to you see that and they get inspiration from what you guys are doing. So again, thank you. And I really appreciate that you guys reached out.
Thank you, Devory. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Free falling like I'm skydiving, teacher and student, two worlds colliding. I love music, I don't abuse it. Take your crafts and you infuse them. Say you're normal, that's kind of weird. In deep thought, stroking my beard. Head of the table, saying my cheers. Ended up grateful for all the tears. Ready to grind for years. Been loving what's in the mirror. Ready to grind for years. Been loving what's in